Good morning, everybody. This is Bob Iacchino along with Mike Arnold. It is June 22nd. We are from Path Trading Partners, and this is an AM Path Chat covering the FX markets. Markets overnight were mixed. MSCI Asia Pacific Index rose almost 0.5%. That's the first gain in the last three. Technology bumping everything up globally. Japan's Topics Index slipped 0.1%, and in Europe, the stock 600 was 0.5% lower as of about 15-20 minutes ago. Sell-off in energy shares continues, and we've got crude oil right now trading at 42.76, which is actually 0.5% lower. This is or 0.5% higher rather. This is the July contract now. The July contract has been down three of the last 4 days, is up ever so slightly today, but it is still now at 42. So if it seems like 42.76 is an extremely low price, that is the July contract I'm quoting right now. There's some rumors about Janet Yellen not being reappointed. According to anonymous sources via Bloomberg, a couple of Donald Trump's advisors are telling him not to reappoint Janet Yellen when her term is up. But her current term does run until February, so it doesn't really apply to what we're looking at for the direction of rates and the direction of the Fed's balance sheet in terms of the reduction of the Fed's balance sheet for this year. So it is a little bit of a further off issue, but it is out there. Theresa May is in Brussels today for her first summit since that awful election that she called. She's expected to outline how the UK proposes to deal with the thorny issue of EU citizens' rights that live in the UK after Brexit. So we should get some cool headlines out of that. Economic calendar. Last night, Swiss trade balance, almost double what was expected. Expected to come out at 1.96 billion Swiss francs, and it came out at 3.4 billion Swiss francs to the positive for them. UK CBI trends, total orders, 16 versus 7 expected. So that was a little bit stronger. You're seeing the euro on your screen, so Mike will point out if there was any effect from those pieces of news. Then at 7:30 Central Time, Canadian retail sales expected to come out at up 0.3 versus 0.7. We've got U.S. jobless claims expected to come out at 240,000 versus 237,000 last. Continuing claims expected at 1.93 million versus 1.93 million last. Eurozone consumer confidence comes out at 9 a.m. Chicago time, Central Time, expected to be down 0.3 versus down 3.3 last. U.S. leading indicators, and as for May, we're almost at the end of June, hence the nickname from the old days in the trading floor when they called it the misleading indicators, because it's kind of old data, but expected to come out at up 0.4 versus up 0.3. Then at 1 o'clock Central Time, we're expecting the Mexican peso overnight rate to rise by 25 basis points, 7% versus 6.75 last. So that'll actually matter in terms of the peso US dollar trade. Japanese Nikkei PMI manufacturing index for June expected out tonight at about 7:30 Central Time. Having said all that, let me turn it over to Mike. Oh, one more thing. There are some Fed speakers today, but there's been Fed speakers all week. We've actually got Federal Reserve Governor Jerome Powell and acting comptroller of the currency, Keith Noreika, speaking in Congress, and they're both likely to tell lawmakers both agencies are okay with the easing of the Volcker restrictions. For those of you that don't know what the Volcker rule is, it's a federal regulation that stops banks from conducting investment activities with their own money, basically with their own accounts, and it also limits their ownerships and relationships with hedge funds and private equity, which is interesting because Goldman is now a bank. And I'm not sure that the Volcker rule is having any effect on Goldman, but that's a whole nother thing. Back to turning it over to Mike, which I'm going to do right now. Mike, it's all yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bob. Euro US dollar, very tight range so far today. Still caught in this horizontal channel. We're still watching to see if we can really get a close below the 111.07 area, which would take us into this clear path and below this trend line. But before that happens, if we rally, we've already hit the key resistance level for today, this 111.77 to 80 area right in here. If we do get above there, watch for another retest of the trend line, 111.90. Then we'll be watching for the 112.05. If we do have a strong rally, the next major level up is 112.36. If we pull back, first area key support, 111.37. And then we'll be watching for the support zone coming at about 111.24 to 111.14, right in here. If we do break below that, next major level down is 110.88. Pound US dollar pushed down yesterday to the new projected GAN levels, the 125.90, and then rallied up off of that to retest the trend line. So far inside day today. So continued rally. First level we'll be watching for is 126.95 to about 127, then 127.06 to 127.11, which is the declining 8, top of the, or the bottom of the declining R zone and the 50% GAN level. Then if we rally through that, the 127.26 area is going to be key for us. Pulling back, 126.33, first level of support we'll be watching for. Then we'll be watching back down to about 126.21 and 126.12, and then 125.90, which is right around yesterday's lows. Switching over to the US dollar, Japanese yen, midst of a 3-day pullback right now, came down again to kiss the trend line goodbye. We don't have an official redraw yet in this trend line. Came down this 110.92 level. So that's going to, if we head back down, that's going to be key. We have the rising 21 first cross rotation zone, significant level, and a 37.5 GAN level, and the trend line all coming in at that area. If we do manage to get below that, 110.67 is the next key level, then 110.29. On a rally higher, 111.41 first level, then we're watching for the 111.63 significant level, then a retest of the most recent swing high, and the upper end of this congestion coming in at 110.78. Once that's broken, next level we'll be watching for upwards is 112.15. US dollar, Swiss franc in this consolidation for the last few days, finding some resistance from our declining trend line here. If we do rally up, first thing we'll be watching for is about 97.45. Then we'll be watching for a retest of significant level, 97.55. If we get through that, the new defining point, 97.66. Then once we get through that, the end of the clear path, 97.85. If we pull back, today's lows will be the first level of support so far, 97.12. Then we'll be watching for 96.94. If we break through that, then the 12.5% GAN level and a rising trend line coming in about 96.74 area. Aussie US dollar, so far again pulling back. This would be day 4 of the pullback, finding some support at the 21 and the 37.5 GAN level coming in around 75.36. If we get back down through that, there's going to be major support coming in about 75.28 to about 75.25. All these key lows and a GAN level coming in there. If that is broken, flat 200, 75.19, and then we'll be watching for the 75.12. So lots of key support levels down here. On a rally back up, first level of resistance we'll be watching for 75.61. Then the hooking 8, 75.66. So there's 61 to 66, and then the 75.69. So there's a fair amount of resistance in here. If we do get through that, watch for a retest of the 75.80 level. Right around in here. US dollar, Canadian dollar. So far pulling back, closed just below our significant level coming at 133.31 yesterday. Poked through that slightly today, 133.38, and then fell back down. Right now trading at 132.97 significant level. If we do get through that, we'll be watching for the right around the 132.70 to 80 area for first level support, then the 132.58, and then if all that's broken, the next major level down is 132.34. Again, if we have a strong rally back up through our significant level, 133.52 to 56 is the first key level of support or resistance we'll be watching for. Then 133.62. Once we get through that, 133.80 area. Finally, over to US dollar, Mexican peso. So far, found some resistance at the declining 21, coming about 18.23.95. So if we rally back up, that's going to be the first level. Then the next level we'll be watching for is 18.31.04. And if that's broken, we'll be watching for 18.35.92. On a move lower, key area support 18.12.83 to 18.12.05. Then we'll be watching for the cluster coming in about 18.07.67. And on a really strong down move, 18.01.29 is the next target for us. That's all we have for you. I'm turning it back over to you, Bob.
Thanks, Mike. You can see that strength in the peso on that chart off of the expected rate hike by the Mexican Central Bank. Cheers, everyone. Mike, thanks for that analysis. Thanks to you guys for watching. We'll talk to you in the next Path Chat.